Alright, so a little while ago, maybe like a few months or something, I made a video talking about Virgil van Dijk and how his legacy was kinda at a weird place. The debate about his place amongst all-time greats is like the perfect example of not only the generation divide, but also the question of what matters the most to a person's legacy. The heights they reached while they played or how long they were able to perform at a great level. Obviously, because Van Dijk had like maybe the best prime of any defender ever when he peaked back around 2018, 2019, 2020 or so. He had a serious injury that slowed him down, and even though he's still very good and climbed back to something like the player he used to be, he's never quite reached that level he was at again. Now the question becomes, is Van Dijk the best Prem defender ever just because no other Prem defender has ever matched his peak? Or are others like John Terry better because of their longevity? When it comes to Van Dijk specifically, I'm not really a big fan of the debate just because there's so much disingenuous viewpoints that fly around. Van Dijk wasn't only great for 3 years. He was great at Southampton, unreal those first 3 years at Liverpool before he popped his ACL, went through a bad rough patch, and then last season he was once again one of the best center backs in the world. He's been great for about 5 or 6 seasons, and he still has time left. Honestly, let his career play out and see if he can last long enough to have respectable longevity. Aside from Van Dijk, though, the broader question still kind of lingers when certain players are brought up. Should a player's peak be valued more than how long they were great for? Some say peak should be valued more because we should judge them by the way they played at their very best. Who cares how long they were good for? We're talking about how great they were, right? Why not compare them by their best versions? Others say longevity should be valued more. So what if there was a time when they were unstoppable? If it was only a couple seasons, who cares? You couldn't leave an impact for as long as me, so I'm more important. Well, you couldn't reach my heights, so I'm more important. Well, you're a 3-year wonder and I'm a 20-year marvel, so I'm more important. Well, you're fat as fuck. Well, you got a square ass head. Well, you be sucking your daughter's toes. The point is, there's no way to decide which one is objectively better because it's pretty subjective. However, we can take a look at which one people seem to prefer. There's plenty of players in the history of the game that can be put in one box or the other. However, the way they're remembered is entirely different, as well as where people tend to place their legacies when comparing them to other legends. For example, with wingers, people seem to prefer prime over longevity, which does make sense. It's the flashiest position. A lot of fans fall in love with wingers that entertain them the most. A lot of great wingers tend to have shorter careers due to how much they get hacked by salty fullbacks, but since they entertain everybody so much in their prime, they tend to get the most leeway when it comes to longevity. Brazilian genes almost never fail. Ronaldinho fell off relatively early. Usually by the time a Brazilian gets to 32, they vanish like the fucking Avatar. Ronaldinho barely made it to 30 before he was done with Europe. An alarmingly short European career with a prime that really just consisted of his first 4 years with Barcelona. Yet many consider him the greatest winger ever. Gareth Bale just recently retired, and his prime was stained with numerous injuries that might have kept him from becoming an even greater player. He is constantly brought up among the best wingers of this generation, though. Eden Hazard and the phrase "in his prime" basically go hand in hand at this point. Usually whenever we talk about wingers, we tend to talk about them from the angle of when they're at their best because it's understood that wingers are generally expected to fizzle out around their early 30s. Longevity is an added bonus in those conversations, but it isn't viewed as the main centerpiece the way it's viewed for defenders. Nobody goes around saying Giggs is better than Ronaldinho or Neymar or even Bale just because he played 20 years and they didn't last anywhere near as long as him. It does make sense, to be fair. Many excellent defenders who lost their athleticism as they aged were able to remain high-level defenders just off their IQ and understanding of the game. It definitely shows a different level of skill to be able to still be a world-class defender as a grandpa. It's also way more common than with forwards, for obvious reasons. Maldini was a Milan starter till over 40. Cafu was a consistent Milan starter till 37. He ran from the Brazilian genes for as long as he could. Cannavaro was a Juve starter at 36. Terry was still starting in the Prem at 37. Sergio Ramos was 38, and last season he started every game that he played for Sevilla. Shit, Pepe just retired this summer, and he's over 40 years old, putting up elite performances in the UCL knockouts and the Euros just a little while ago. I think people view longevity as more of a factor for defenders because only the smartest defenders are still able to keep up at higher ages, while nobody really cares much about smart wingers. They're more focused on the rainbow flicks and Rabonas. I still think there's a lot of disingenuous shit going on in the Van Dijk debate, don't get me wrong. Vidic's name gets thrown ahead of Van Dijk because of longevity when it can easily be argued that Vidic had the same number of elite seasons in the Prem as Van Dijk, and he was out of there by 31. At the very least, though, I can understand why people lean towards longevity when it comes to defenders. With attackers, I feel like it's always going to lean towards, what did you show me when you were at your best? Kaká was washed by 30, and he's cemented as one of the greatest attacking midfielders ever across the football world. We all know about R9's extreme health issues. He was done by like 28. Many have him as the greatest striker ever still, though. Name one defender that was absolutely wiped before 30 and still has automatic legend status across the football world. The standards are just different for different positions and roles when it comes to longevity, and it does make a bit of sense. Me personally, I feel like prime should take precedent over longevity. Yes, it's important to be consistently good over years worth of time, but at the end of the day, a player who was on an entirely different level for half the time could accomplish just as much and more while also providing a level of play that the other players simply can't provide. I think it should always be more important what two players provided when they were at their best before bringing in other factors like longevity. Consistency is a crucial side factor and a bonus. Ryan Giggs, I'm sure he's a great guy. Well, he's not, but we all know he's a great player. Played over 20 years till he was pushing 40, was good for the large majority of his career, and at his peak was an elite player for a good while. There's no universe where I have him over a guy like Neymar just because Neymar's ankles are made of peanut butter and jelly, though. Same for Bale, same for Hazard. Now, I also want to clarify that just because I said a player's peak should take priority doesn't mean longevity isn't a factor. It still matters. A player can't just be elite for a year then call it a day. My point was just that I feel like peaks shouldn't get ignored for the sake of someone just being good for a longer period. What we remember most is the best moments that the best of the best gave us at their peak in their primes. I feel like basing a player's legacy mainly off of what they achieved when they were at their best is the best starting point. Otherwise, I feel like we end up with a lot of players who should have more respect getting unnecessarily disrespected. We mainly see this with a lot of modern players, and I think it's mainly just because we're living through their careers and we're not seeing them through a past tense lens. Pogba's career is rightfully viewed as a tragedy because of what he could have been, but if we look at him the way we look at some other players we call legends, I mean, 5 or 6 seasons as an elite or world-class level player, especially at Juventus and then in that 2018 season for United, an elite World Cup campaign that ended in winning the trophy. Because we're looking at him through a what could have been lens, we're also sometimes not acknowledging that the career he already had was pretty great, and he should be respected more for what he had already done instead of the player he might have been. We do the same thing with Hazard, all of us do, to be honest. Because we constantly go on about what could have been if he worked harder or if he didn't have those injuries, his legacy slowly starts to slip away from what he actually achieved into this sort of fantasy land where it makes it appear like he hadn't actually done much yet and the player of Eden Hazard is more of a dream or an idea or something. I really hope I'm explaining it well. To put it kind of simply, all the what could have been talk completely distracts from the fact that he already was insane. Had 8 or so elite seasons of European football. He had won Ligue 1 with Leo playing every single game, put up 35 goals and assists in Ligue 1 this season before he came to Chelsea, then had a somewhat lengthy career there. I mean, he was there the same amount of time Henry was at Arsenal, won a ton of trophies with them from Europa Leagues to Premier Leagues. I mean, you can't help but feel like the narrative on some of these guys' careers has been pushed to the point that they're viewed as failures instead of world-class players that just could have been more. Neymar is the prime example of this, and I do think it's justified because of the insane potential he had, but the prince who never became king thing has been so sensationalized to the point that his actual career has become somewhat underrated. Okay, now I really don't know if I explained that well. I've been trying my hardest to articulate my thought process in a way that doesn't make me sound dumb, but I feel like I've been getting it out wrong. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe some of y'all will be able to explain what I'm saying better. It's something I had wanted to talk about and put into words for a while. Definitely let me know if that made sense though. Thanks for watching, y'all, and thanks again for 5,000 subscribers. It does mean a lot to me. By the way, new season just started. I know some of y'all need some jerseys, some kits, but y'all not trying to pay them crazy ass prices they got on the official websites because, yeah, I'm going to be real. Some of them shits is wild. Never fear, never fear. Click the link in my bio and use the code Manda and you can get whatever kit you want for much more reasonable prices. They sent me one to see for myself and the quality is actually pretty good. They sent me a Knicks jersey too, by the way. You can also order basketball jerseys. Yes, I got Brunson. Who else y'all expect me to get? Randall? So yeah, click that link. Use the code for a discount. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'm going to see y'all next time.